The ultimate strategy. When no contact becomes a weak move. There's a profound paradox in human psychology. We take for granted what comes easily, yet crave what we've lost. This is why so many men, after being abandoned, put their faith in the no-contact strategy as their ultimate weapon. They believe that if they disappear long enough, the other person will realize their mistake, start missing them, and regret leaving, ultimately returning. But in reality, this strategy only works on the surface, and that's exactly why it's not strong enough. Because no contact is still a form of contact at an invisible level. It still carries an unspoken message. I am silent, but I am waiting. And that's what strips it of its real power. Human nature is driven by the need for control. We want to believe that if we act in a certain way, if we adjust our behavior skillfully enough, we can manipulate someone's emotions. But in relationships, control does not come from tactics, it comes from within. And the raw truth is this: if you are still waiting for someone, even in silence, you have not truly let go. So what is the stronger strategy? What can make someone not just miss you, but confront a truth so unsettling that it shakes them to their core? The answer does not lie in your disappearance. It lies in your transformation, to the point where, even if they come back, they no longer have a place in your world. We will break down each layer of this strategy, one that not only frees you from the torment of the past but also puts you in a position where you can no longer be hurt. This is not just about forgetting someone. This is about becoming someone even you never imagined you could be. If you're ready for a revolution in your mindset, keep going, because from this moment forward, this is no longer about lost love. This is about your rebirth. 1. The collapse. When your entire world disappears in a moment, there are psychological shocks powerful enough to shatter a person completely. Not because they are weak, but because they placed too much faith in something they thought was unbreakable. And in relationships, one of the most brutal shocks a person can experience is the moment they realize that the person who once meant everything to them has suddenly turned their back, disappearing without an explanation. Because a breakup is not just the end of a relationship, it is the collapse of a reality. It destroys everything you believed in, everything you were certain about. It drags you from a place of emotional security into the abyss of uncertainty. No more goodnight texts, no more late-night conversations, no more promises of a future together. One day, you were the center of her world. The next day, you became a stranger, or worse, ceased to exist in her eyes. This is the cruel paradox of love. We fall in love because of how someone makes us feel, but when they leave, we are forced to face ourselves. The shock of abandonment, why it hurts so much. Psychologists have found that rejection activates the same area of the brain that processes physical pain. In other words, biologically speaking, being abandoned hurts just as much as a physical injury. But what makes this pain even more brutal is that it doesn't come from an external force. It comes from within your own mind. When someone leaves, your brain goes into overdrive, searching for answers. Why did this happen? What did I do wrong? Was I not good enough? These questions loop endlessly in your head, trapping you in a cycle of self-doubt, regret, and suffering. And this is the most dangerous trap of all. You start believing that your worth is defined by how someone else treats you. If she left so easily, you feel worthless. If she is happy without you, you convince yourself that you were never enough. You see her indifference as proof that you never mattered. But is this really the truth? Or is it just an illusion created by your mind, desperately trying to make sense of a reality you are not ready to accept? The truth is, your worth has never changed. Only your perception of yourself has been damaged. The paradox of indifference, when someone can forget you so easily. One of the most painful realizations is not just being abandoned, but realizing how easily someone can erase you from their life. This challenges everything you once believed. If what we had was real, how could she let it go so quickly? But here's the key point that many people fail to understand. Love is not just about emotions, it is about perception. Someone can love you intensely in one moment, but if their perception of you shifts, they can stop loving you instantly. Not because their feelings were never real, but because emotions are the easiest thing in the human mind to manipulate. Women, by nature, are drawn to strength, not just physical strength, but inner control. When a man loses himself in heartbreak, when he becomes desperate, when he can't take his eyes off the past, he loses the very thing that made him attractive in the first place. And that is why, no contact alone is not enough. Because if, deep down, you are still waiting, you have not truly moved on. From hope to freedom, the turning point of transformation. One of the biggest mistakes men make after being left is that they don't seek to heal, they only seek to get her back. They use silence as a tool of manipulation, hoping that if they wait long enough, she will feel the loss and return. But what's the problem? Waiting is still a form of dependence. A truly strong man is not the one who pretends to have moved on, but the one who no longer needs to pretend. He doesn't need to post mysterious quotes on social media, hoping she sees them. He doesn't need to prove to the world that he is doing better. He doesn't need to look back. Because once you genuinely stop caring, she will feel it. And the greatest paradox of human psychology? We are always obsessed with what is out of our reach. The collapse is not the end, it is the beginning. If you are reading this and you resonate with these words, understand one thing. The collapse you are experiencing is not an ending, it is a rebirth. The emotions you feel, the pain you are going through, are not something to escape from, but something to transform. You have two choices. 1. Stay trapped in the cycle of pain. 2. Use it as fuel to rebuild yourself. And that is what will separate you from every other man who remains stuck in the past. So what's next? How do you not just move on, but become someone even you will be amazed by? Keep going, because the next part will completely change how you see yourself. 2. No contact. Why it's not enough. The no contact rule is the most common advice given to people who have been abandoned. Just stay silent, and she'll miss you. Disappear, and she'll automatically come back. This strategy sounds like a powerful move, but in reality, it's just a psychological trap disguised as control. Because on the surface, no contact makes it seem like you are in control. But in truth, it's just another form of waiting. If you stop reaching out only in hopes that she will eventually come back, you are still letting her control your mind. And that is the biggest problem. We need to go deeper into the true nature of this strategy and why it is not the key to overcoming emotional pain. No contact is just a game of hope. Most men don't use no contact as a true release. They use it as a covert tactic. They don't actually let go, they just step back temporarily, hoping that the other person will realize their worth in return. But this is the core mistake. No contact is still a form of attachment. You still check your phone every day to see if she has messaged you. You still stalk her social media to see if she's subtly hinting at something. You still wonder if she's thinking about you. And the biggest paradox here? As long as you still have hope, you have not truly freed yourself from her. Women can sense this. They know when a man has genuinely let go and when he is only pretending to be strong. They know when you are truly living your life, and when you are just waiting in silence. And if they sense this, they will not come back. Or if they do, it's not out of respect, it's because they know you're still there. No contact doesn't make you stronger, it only delays healing. There's a brutal truth that most people don't realize. No contact does not make you stronger. It only helps you temporarily avoid reality. You don't text, you don't call, but in your mind, everything is still the same. You still replay old memories. You still hope that one day, she will, suddenly, realize that you were the right one for her. You think that silence equals power. But silence does not mean you have truly moved on. Think of it this way. Imagine you are holding a cup of boiling water in your hands. It burns you. Now, you have two choices. 1. You keep holding it, hoping that at some point, it will cool down and stop hurting. 2. You let go of it immediately and accept that your hand needs time to heal. Most men choose the first option. They think that if they just hold on long enough, the pain will fade. But in reality, they are just prolonging their suffering. So what is the real answer? The real solution is not no contact, it's absolute indifference. The core of the issue is not whether you contact her or not. The real question is, have you truly let go? If you go no contact, but you still think about her every day, you are still trapped. But if, even when she texts, calls, or posts things that hint at you, you feel nothing, then you have already won. Indifference is not an action, it's a state of mind. It's when you don't have to pretend to have moved on, because you actually have. So how do you reach this state? How do you not just forget the past, but become someone even you don't recognize anymore? The answer lies in turning your pain into fuel for growth. You don't just forget, you rebuild yourself to the point where, even if she comes back, she no longer has a place in your life. And that is what the next part will explain. Because from here on, this is no longer about silence. This is about a complete transformation. 3. The power of indifference, rising above the psychological game. If no contact is just a tactic, then indifference is the ultimate weapon. No contact might make the other person wonder about you, but true indifference makes them feel the loss. But the indifference we're talking about is not an act. It's not a strategy to provoke a reaction. It's a state of mind, a fundamental shift in how you perceive yourself and the world. The difference between no contact and indifference is like the difference between someone waiting and someone moving on. A man who uses no contact as a strategy is still trapped in hope, waiting, wishing, and wondering. But a man who has truly embraced indifference no longer cares whether the other person comes back or not, because it simply doesn't matter anymore. So what gives indifference its power? Why is it so much more effective than just staying silent? Indifference is a statement of power. Human beings, by nature, crave validation. We want to be recognized, to feel important, to know that others still think about us. And here lies the greatest paradox. We become obsessed with what we cannot control. Think about when you post a photo on social media and wait for the likes to roll in. You know it doesn't really matter. Yet you still check your phone every few minutes to see if anyone has reacted. But what if you knew for certain that no one cared? Would you still feel the same anticipation? The answer is no, and the same principle applies to relationships. When someone leaves you, they assume they still have power over you. They believe you'll still be watching from afar, still waiting for a sign, still hoping, and that belief gives them control. But when they realize that you no longer care, it unsettles them, because if you don't care, they no longer have power over you. Why people struggle to handle indifference? Indifference is terrifying because it completely erases the value someone once had in your life. If someone hates you, they still have emotions toward you. If someone wants revenge, you still have an impact on them. But if someone is truly indifferent, it means you hold no value to them anymore. This is extremely unsettling for someone who once believed they were important to you. Because suddenly, they no longer have a place in your world. Indifference is not just silence, it is a powerful declaration. I have moved on. And when someone realizes you truly no longer care, that's when they begin to question themselves. How indifference is built. Indifference does not come from action, it comes from internal transformation. You cannot fake indifference, because pretense will always reveal itself. To truly achieve this state, you must go through a fundamental shift in mindset. Keycap 1. Recognize that your value is not defined by others. If someone leaves you, it does not mean you are unworthy. It simply means your story with them has ended. Keycap 2. Stop seeking validation from the past. You don't need to know what she's doing. You don't need her to remember you. Keycap 3. Shift your focus to yourself. When you prioritize yourself over anyone else, you reclaim your power. When you grow and build your life, the past becomes irrelevant. Keycap 4. Stop reacting to signals from the past. If she texts, it doesn't matter. If she posts something that could be about you, you don't care. If she comes back, you no longer need it. And here is the key. Indifference is not about hate or revenge. It is about truly letting go. The paradox of indifference, making them come back without trying. Here's the brutal truth. When you no longer care, you become more attractive than ever. Because people are always drawn to what they cannot have. When you chase someone, they run. When you stop caring, they wonder why. Think about the times you've been drawn to something simply because it was out of reach. A luxury car, a rare opportunity, a person who doesn't seem to notice you. The human brain is wired to crave what isn't easily available. And this is why indifference holds immense power. So the irony is this. When you truly move on, that's when they start thinking about you. When you no longer want them back, that's when they feel the loss. When you stop playing the game, that's when you win. True freedom, when you no longer have to prove anything. There is a moment in every person's journey when they genuinely move on. Not because they won, not because their ex came back, but because they no longer need it. Her name no longer triggers emotions. Her memories no longer haunt you. You don't need to prove anything to her or to yourself. You simply live your life. And that is true freedom. So here's the question. Do you want to stay trapped in the cycle of the past? Or do you want to step into a completely new chapter, one where you control your own destiny? If the answer is the second option, then get ready, because in the next part, we will completely change how you view pain and turn it into your greatest strength. 4. The dark side of attraction. Why they always come back. There's a deep paradox in human psychology. We are drawn to what we cannot have, yet we quickly lose interest in what comes too easily. You see this in every aspect of life. Luxury items are more desirable than things we can buy instantly. A rare opportunity holds more value than an option that's always available. And in relationships, the one who is indifferent to us is often the one we think about the most. This explains why, the moment you truly stop caring about someone, they suddenly come back. But why does this happen? And more importantly, how should you respond when it does? To answer these questions, we first need to understand the dark side of attraction. Why do they think they've won when they leave? When someone walks away from you, especially in relationships, they never actually believe that they've lost you forever. They assume that you will suffer, wait, beg, or at the very least, keep thinking about them for a long time. They believe that they have the power to come back whenever they choose. And in most cases, they're right. Most people who get left behind stay trapped in their pain and never truly move on. This is why some people leave so effortlessly. They don't fear losing you, because they assume you're still there. But when they realize that you are no longer the same person, that you've changed, that you don't care anymore, that you have truly moved on, that's when panic sets in. Because suddenly, they realize something they never considered before. You are no longer an option for them. The lost value effect, when they start feeling your absence. Imagine you have a favorite watch. You wear it every day. But over time, you stop noticing it. It just becomes a normal part of your life. Then one day, you lose it. At first, you don't think much about it. But then, when you need to check the time, when you miss the familiar weight on your wrist, when you realize that you took it for granted, you start feeling empty. But here's the truth. You don't really miss the watch. You miss how it made you feel. And this is exactly how the human mind works in relationships. People don't always miss you as a person. They miss how you made them feel. But here's the problem. When they come back because of this sense of loss, they are not returning because they truly value you. They are returning to regain control. When control shifts, in most relationships, the one who loves more is the one with less power. Not because love itself is a power game, but because emotions can be manipulated. As long as someone knows that you still care, they will always feel secure. But when you are truly indifferent, when you stop reacting, when you stop being affected, when they realize that their presence means nothing to you anymore, that's when they start to panic. Why aren't you watching their stories? Why aren't you replying to their messages? How can you move on without them? And in that moment, control is reversed. Coming back doesn't mean they regret leaving. When they come back, most people mistake it for regret. But the reality is much more complicated. Remember this. There is a huge difference between missing someone and wanting them back. Sometimes, they come back just to see if you're still there. Sometimes, they come back because they feel empty, not because they truly want you. Sometimes, they come back because they're bored with their current life, not because they've realized their mistake. And most importantly, if they truly regretted losing you, they wouldn't just come back, they would change. But that rarely happens, because real regret doesn't come from temporary loneliness, it comes from permanent loss. What should you do when they come back? There is one simple rule. If you have moved on, never go back just because they want you to. Ask yourself, have they truly changed, or are they just feeling empty? Do I actually want them back? Or am I just enjoying the attention? Will this create a better future? Or is it just pulling me back into past pain? If you feel like they haven't changed, If you realize they're only coming back because they feel your absence, then keep moving forward, because once you've rebuilt yourself, you won't want to return to what once broke you. True freedom, it's not when they come back, it's when you no longer care. In the end, the question is not, will they come back? The real question is, would I even care if they did? If your answer is yes, then you are still not truly free. But if your answer is no, if you no longer need validation, if you no longer seek attention, if you no longer crave a perfect ending, then you've already won. Because the greatest victory is not getting back what you lost. It's becoming the person you were always meant to be. So, are you ready to move forward? Because in the next part, we will go even deeper. Not just into letting go, but into something far more important. How to turn pain into power and become the version of yourself that no one can ever touch again. 5. Turning pain into power, the rebirth of a man. There's something most people don't realize about pain. It can either destroy you or transform you. The difference doesn't lie in the intensity of the pain, but in how you face it. Most people drown in their suffering because they see it as a punishment, as something that has happened to them unfairly. They torment themselves. They blame others. They get trapped in the past with no way out. But a rare few, those who truly understand the laws of life, see pain differently. They see it as an opportunity for transformation, a chance to become stronger than they have ever been. So how do you go from being a broken man, crushed by betrayal, to someone who cannot be broken? The answer does not lie in running away from pain. The answer lies in facing it head on and turning it into your greatest weapon. Pain is the ground on which a new man is born. When a person loses something important, a lover, a dream, a belief, they experience a psychological collapse. They feel like the world has betrayed them. They wonder, why did this happen to me? But the truth is, pain is not an ending, it is a transformation. If you look at history, you'll see that every great man went through darkness before emerging as his most powerful self. Steve Jobs was fired from the company he founded before coming back and turning Apple into a tech empire. Elon Musk went bankrupt multiple times before SpaceX and Tesla revolutionized industries. The greatest warriors in history all suffered crushing defeats before they became legends. What did they all have in common? They didn't let pain destroy them. They used it as fuel to be reborn. And so can you. The metamorphosis, why your old self no longer exists. A man can completely transform himself in just 6 months, if he uses pain correctly. But what creates this transformation? It is not just a surface-level change. It is not just going to the gym, getting fit, and posting pictures online to show off. It is not trying to prove to the world that I'm doing better without her. It is a deep internal shift, a transformation of mindset, psychology, and spirit. To truly evolve, you must do 3 things. 1. Face your pain head on. Most people run from their pain. They distract themselves with work, entertainment, or temporary relationships. But by doing so, they delay their true healing. A truly strong man does not escape pain, he confronts it. He allows himself to feel it fully, but he does not let it control him. The question you should ask yourself is not, why is this happening to me? But instead, what is this trying to teach me? 2. Turn pain into a driving force for growth. There are 2 types of people when they experience pain. The first type uses it as an excuse to collapse, becoming a victim of their circumstances. The second type uses it as a reason to grow, becoming the strongest version of themselves. Which one will you be? If your answer is the second type, then you must start taking action immediately. You feel betrayed? Use that feeling to upgrade yourself. You feel underestimated? Let it drive you to success. You feel empty? Turn that emptiness into space for growth. Remember, you cannot control what happens to you, but you can control how you respond. 3. Destroy the old image of yourself. When someone loved you, they didn't just love you. They loved their perception of you. But when they left, it meant that their image of you lost its value to them. So what is the solution? Destroy the old version of yourself and be reborn as someone new. Not as a way to get their attention, not as a way to prove something, but as someone so powerful that even you admire yourself. A man who is no longer controlled by emotions. A man who has a clear vision and pursues it relentlessly. A man who does not need to prove his worth to anyone because it is already undeniable. And when you reach this state, they will realize what they have lost. But by then, it won't matter to you anymore. The transformation, becoming untouchable. There will come a moment when you realize you no longer care what she thinks. You no longer need validation from anyone. You no longer want to go back to the past because you have built a greater future. And this is the true transformation. Once you reach this state, no one can control your emotions. No one can trap you in pain. No one can manipulate you with old mind games. You become the man that others chase, not the one chasing anyone. And this is the ultimate victory. Are you ready to truly move forward? From this moment, you have two choices. 1. Stay trapped in your pain and let the past control you. 2. Use your pain as a weapon and transform into something unstoppable. The choice is entirely yours. Because from now on, we are no longer talking about the people who left you. We are talking about the person you are about to become. And if you are ready to step into the next chapter of your life, start today. When you become untouchable, in the end, the most important thing to remember is not whether someone comes back, but how far you have come. You once drowned in pain, waited, and hoped, but now, you have entered a new chapter of your life, one where the past no longer controls you. Because true victory is not winning someone back. It's becoming the kind of person who no longer needs them. From this moment forward, you are no longer your old self. You no longer seek validation from others. You control your own destiny. You create value rather than searching for it from the outside. You are no longer manipulated by someone else's emotions, because you have found strength within yourself. And when you walk with that mindset, with that confidence, with that unshakable inner peace, not only will the ones who left you realize what they lost, but the world itself will be drawn to the new version of you. But most importantly, it won't matter to you anymore. If this video resonated with you, leave a comment and share your thoughts. Don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe to Practical Philosophy, and turn on notifications so you won't miss upcoming videos on life philosophy, human psychology, and the art of mastering your own destiny. Remember, you are not someone left behind, you are someone moving forward. And the road ahead is no longer about them, it's about you. See you in the next video.